What is up, guys? McIntyre here, bringing you the newest update to the tier list. This is going to be for the Zarya patch, release patch. Today is the 27th. So what I'm going to do for this video, before I made all the changes prior to making a video today, I'm going to look at the actual tier list and talk about it, and then see if the things on, the patch notes. So see if the things on the patch notes affect where the position of the hero is on my list. I played most of the heroes in the PTR, so I have kind of an understanding. Again, this is going to be a speculation of a list. For example, the Butcher being so high, I think could probably drop down to high. This is just something that I needed to change, because when I last speculated Butcher being really powerful, I think he was a lot weaker than I originally had thought. So things like that, but I'm going to move them around as I go over the patch notes. So the first one is going to be the new change to Alarak. So they've done a bunch of mana reduction on all of Alarak's abilities, which I think is pretty sweet. They've also increased the damage of his E, which is going to be even more annoying. But the most important thing for me with him is that they made Counter-Strike an unstoppable animation. So because of this unstoppable animation, I still think Alarak is going to be tier 2. He didn't get an insane damage buff, but being able to Counter-Strike and be immune and deflect everything is going to be a really sick mechanic. So I'm really excited about that change, and I thought it was honestly base. If you go back and look at my Alarak first impression video, I was like, oh, I'll counter strike when Butcher charges and he would hit me, and the counter strike would break, and then the outplay just kind of got countered, right? So this is really going to be cool too for a lot of the CC. Like Butcher again is a good example. If Butcher goes to kind of Lamb of the Slaughter you as Alarak, you can counter strike it and you'll be immune to it because you're unstoppable, right? So it's a self cleanse on itself, but it also deals damage and it makes you immune to damage. So it's a little ice block that deals damage back. I like it a lot. It'll make his level 20 a lot stronger as well. So the next change is going to be a Chromie change. So they increased the base health of Chromie. They've increased her base regen, and they've increased the range of all of her abilities by 6% by nerfing her 13 talent, which gives her 25% range. They went from 25 to 15, so if you still take the talent, you get 21%, so we lose 4% at level 13. But I think what this does is it makes Chromie's early game a little bit better, and it makes it stronger. And for that reason, I think I want to move her up to the front of this list at tier 3. Because I do believe that Chromie, if played correctly, can dominate the other team. The only problem and why she is tier 3 for me is if the other team takes picks that counter her, then she is really bad. But having the 13 talent not be necessary allows for you to take the talent that makes you back faster. So you get that option. You get the ice block, which is a really cool ice block because it lasts for 8 seconds. So your team has 8 seconds to do something for you to get out of that space, or get to you so they can get you out. She could be better, but she's not much better in my heart as none of her damage was increased. So the next change is going to be Gul'dan. As most of you already know, I have a poor feeling about Gul'dan. I always have. It comes from his lack of mobility, but he now deals less damage to himself when he traits. He has a bigger Q. He drains more when he Ws. He has a decreased cooldown on his E. So he's getting lots of little number changes, and I think because of that, he might actually be better this patch. When it comes to all of the heroes in the game, though, I still don't like taking him that much. So I think I'm gonna still keep him right where he's at. The lack of mobility on Gul'dan is what's gonna really hurt him, is in the fact that the other team just goes on him and you die, right? So you need your team to be around you to do well. He still has the Gul'dan Merc, the Gul'dan Rainer, where if your team's doing well, then you look like you're doing well, but if your team's doing poorly, then you feel like you can't do anything. So for that reason, he'll stay where he's at, but he definitely got a buff. This is a buff, so Gul'dan players, be happy. Li Ming, she's got her changed to her W, which isn't necessarily a nerf, because now you can weave your Ws a little better when you cast them. And then they touched her W talents. Not that anyone cares. No one goes those anyways. So she still doesn't get nerfed. She's still going to be heavily picked. And I still love her being where she's at in this list. So on Butcher, they decreased cooldown on Furnace Blast. No one really took that ultimate anyways, so he's still right where he's going to be at. Tychus, this is going to be a different change for Tychus. So one thing that's really cool is they buffed his health. So he's going to be a little bit harder to kill. Gave him more regen. They did get rid of the resistance on E, which means that he can't duel as well. But they gave it to his Odin. I'm not sure anyone really takes Odin, but you can take Odin. Now you get base 25% resistance, which is pretty cool. You know, hitting Odin when they're hitting you means that you are technically reducing the damage that you take. But the new change is going to be the level 1. We get Press the Advantage has a 35% attack range, which is kind of insane. Like if you E into someone melee range and have Press the Advantage, then the distance that they walk out of your range is going to be really insane. Like you'll be able to shoot them basically the whole time they are walking out of your range if you E into them. I really like that. And then we have Combat Tactician, so you get a cooldown reduction on per basic attack for your E. I don't really think that talent's going to be taken. It's either going to be dash, the move speed, or E, the basic range. We'll see how that goes. I mean, I think I like the range a little bit more, but Tychus, for me, is unchanged. Still can dominate Hero League if played correctly. So now we are getting a Valla buff. This is honestly going to push Valla to the best range in the game currently. She's going to be safe. So her E is going to get a bonus increase per hatred stack from 5 to 6%. So she gets an extra 10 bonus damage on her E. Her Hungering Arrow base damage is increased by 11, and the bonus damage is increased by 6. Her Rain of Vengeance cooldown is 50 seconds instead of 60 per charge. You know, and then they touch up on her Q talents a little bit, but you know, we're just seeing number buffs for Valla, and I think those buffs are honestly just making her stronger than she should be. She already is a really powerful ranged assassin, so I'm going to say Valla is really high for me on this list now, and I think she can just dominate a team fight in Hero League, especially because of her ability to 1v1, or if a team fight happens and you position correctly, you can just kill the other team by yourself. So I really like Valla now, and they're just buffing her still. I don't get it. They try to make her Q build more viable too with a couple of the talents, but we're still going to go W build. So now the changes to Nazeebo, wherever he is. Let me see if I can. Nazeebo. So they honestly didn't do enough for Nazeebo. They made him harder to play, which is not rewarding really. I mean, I think that the way that his kit was fine, I want to say. So his new W build is really powerful. And if you get the 16 talent with the poison, you can just kill somebody. The thing about him is he's going to be a lot like a he's going to be a much more PvE based specialist. So his damage in team fights is going to be there, but it's not going to be the big, you know, flashy like, oh, you know, I hit this and then I killed the person. It's going to be the, oh, I was like hitting that person and kind of bleeding them out. I played him a lot in the patch actually because I was trying to figure out if he was good or bad, and I think I decided that he's probably tier 2. And when I say tier 2, I'm gonna move Abathur and Vikings down. So I say tier 2, and what I really mean by that is he's really good at just PvEing. So on maps where PvE is important, he's really powerful at it actually with the new build. With the zombies, and you know, he can kind of just safely throw stuff at the enemy team. It kind of reminds me of Zagara with the Baneling build, where you're not so much team fighting, you're just throwing poo at the other team, and then eventually the poo will stick enough that the other team has to either back or commit into a fight, and then you would turn the fight on them. So his build hasn't really changed. I need to update. I'll update the build in my build list right here. If you guys don't know, I have a whole build list for all the heroes, but I think he's probably tier 2 now. The changes didn't make him worse, but I don't know how much better they made him, right? Just put it that way. So we'll continue on. Support Kharazim. He gets a block amount increase from 50 to 75%. Still want to say Monk is going to be a tier 3 support just because he doesn't have Relentless anymore, and I really think that hurt him. So Lily gets a change to her Shake It Off at 16 and no longer has a cooldown. Every time you're CC'd now, doesn't matter if you've already been CC'd, if you get hit by a stun and then half a second later you get hit by a stun, you get a 50% resistance on yourself, and it lasts for 4 seconds. So that could be really good, actually. I mean, Kung Fu Lily would Shake It Off was always something that I thought was hilarious, and now you're giving her a 50% reduction for playing insane and running at the other team every time she gets CC'd. So, I don't know. That change, maybe, you know, maybe we bring Lily up to tier 2. Maybe now the Lilies can just all run around and just judo Kung Fu hustle everybody at 20 because they can never die. That was always the thing with Lily. It was really difficult to kill her. She's slippery. And that's going to make her even harder to get killed. So this is the next change is the best one. I think the one that everyone cares about right here. I'm about to highlight this guy. My main support hero that I got to play on the world stage, Malfurion. They've decreased the cooldown of his Q. They've decreased the mana cost of his Q. They've increased the duration of his Q. And they've reduced the healing of his Q. So he's now a much more sustained healer rather than a, you know, they've committed him to sustain healing. Before he was like not burst, he was not sustained. Now he's full sustain healing. But the biggest changes are the next two that I'm going to bring up. Is the first one going to be his E comes out immediately. Basically, it's a 0.25 instead of a 0.5. So if you E, it sprouts and you can root. Okay, the range is increased by 12% on your E, so you can do it safer. And his Innervate trait, his D, is going to decrease the cooldown of basic abilities of the person that you innervated by 50% faster. So we can innervate Jaina's, we can innervate KT's, we can innervate Chromies, and all of their cooldowns are 50%. And so if you've ever played Jaina with Icy Veins, that's, you feel pretty quick on your cooldowns, right? Now imagine that during, you know, the duration of Innervate. So when you go into a team fight, if you innervate one of your mages, then, or even just like your Kerrigan, for example, Kerrigan Battle Momentum Double Strike Innervate, you can probably potentially push it so you combo every 2-3 seconds, like if you're getting your double strikes in correctly. So it's gonna be really insane and really annoying, and for that reason I'm moving him up. I don't think that he'll be better than Ariel, but he is tier 1 now. We're going to see a lot of Malfurion, a lot of it. It's going to be really annoying. I don't look forward to it. I'm actually going to move Uther down even to tier 2 with his buddy Rhaegar. So if I'm going to unbold some of these heroes because a lot of them aren't good anymore, and I'm going to rebold at the end of this video. Okay, so yeah, so we have tier 1 Malfurion, guys. The day has come. So now we're looking at warriors. The first change is going to be Anub'arak. He's going to get increased base health. So Anub'arak's now going to have more health than Kerrigan, which is good, considering Kerrigan's an assassin and he's a warrior. But, you know, because of the E nerf, the previous patch, I just don't see him kind of catching any wind off of this buff. You know, maybe we move him to low tier 2 now. I think I'm okay with that. But it does really suck that you can no longer be unstoppable during E. So the next change that I personally have looked forward to since the day I started playing is the Qin buff. So Qin got tons of changes. His kit, his talents are completely insane. I don't really want to talk too much about them as I made a video going in depth on all of them. But the big ones are going to be that his Storm, Earth, and Fire got buffed. The pandas got buffed. You now have activatables. The pandas can kill people. They just kill people. Like, if the panda goes on your back line, like, you have to kill the panda pals now because they will kill your back line, which is really insane. But if you do kill the pandas, the Qin does die, but it is difficult, obviously, to kill them. But we got a bunch of talent changes. He now has a dash. He has a dodge, just like Illidan at level 1 if you want it. He has basically permanent resistance at level 1 if you take that talent. They removed the Q there's no longer a Q cost for your Q, so it no longer costs brew. And if you have a shield up after you've drank, your Q crits, which makes him deal even more damage. That's a notable one. You know, you have the ability to just immediately get shield once you drink with a level 7 talent. He's got, you know, he no longer has resistance, but he gets his slow of Q at 13 now instead of 16. He has increased range on Q, which is insane. Like, yeah, he's just, this hero, he's going here. This is how I feel about Chen this patch. He is tier S. We will see first ban Chen, first pick Chen. It's come to that, guys, and it's because of these buffs. So if you can get Chen, start practicing and learning him, because he will be a top pick this patch. So ETC is the next change that is actually sizable. ETC is now going to be able to wave clear, which is incredible. He's getting his tier 1 at the lowest back because of this. He's got he's got Echo Pedal at 7, which is going to be really good for wave clearing. He has move speed at 4, which is awesome. AoE move speed at level 4, which means early game comps with ETC are powerful again. You know, he can go stage dive now because he has Echo Pedal. His talents are a bit easier to use. He still has Mosh Pit. ETC now deals damage too and has built-in sustain. So ETC is back to tier 1. So a nice move from Blizzard on that. I think that's about it for the patch. As far as other changes, because things have gotten buffed, when we look at the Chen getting buffed, that makes Tychus a lot stronger. He can kind of shut down Chen. So can ETC. He can shut down ETC. So Tychus is going to be heavily picked, I think, because of that. You'll be able to give up the Chen for Tychus. So I think we'll move Tychus to probably here behind Li Ming. And then I think we'll move Falstad to behind the Thrall. I think that's how I want my assassins looking for this patch. We're going to have a resurgence of double tank, potentially double support too. So we could have double tank, double support. Like, this patch will allow for it. You'll be able to go like Chen, ETC, Malfurion, Brightwing, Vala, right? That could be a composition for this patch. So we might see a resurgence of double tank, double support. It could just be double support range tank. I don't know. There's a lot of damage on these tanks now, so I don't think we no longer have a tier 4 support. It's pretty good. I think all the supports now at this point in the game are pretty decent and can get something done. So I'm gonna put some space here because I like that. Like, all right, so this is the list, guys. These are the changes. This is all speculation at first, but I was just looking at the patch notes. These are the things that I noticed. Yeah, so with that said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to do a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can always check me out on Twitch and Twitter, which will both be located below as well. And check out, yeah, just continue to check out this tier list. I'll keep it updated. I'll probably re-update it next week once I've kind of gotten into the meta a little bit. But these are my speculations for this patch so far and where I feel like you should be drafting when it comes to Hero League. So with that said, guys, thanks for swinging by, and I will see you all next video. Cheers.